Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Mary, where you going to?
All right, please welcome to the Imus Morning program from the Monkees, Micky Dolenz. Good morning, Mr. Dolenz.
Hey, here I come, walking down the street. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, baby. Tony said we met before.
I can't remember when or where, frankly, but I'm pretty sure we did. It would have been a few years ago.
Like I was with Levon Helm one time. We were up at someplace, and Chris Christopherson was backstage, and he comes over and he says, "Hey, nice to see you again, man." And I'd never met him, as far as I knew. So it's one of those deals. So this 50 years of the Monkees, you guys just did this tour, right?
Yeah, we just finished. Peter and I finished last year in Australia, a world tour, and then Mike and Peter and I before that, and now I'm doing solo stuff. And yeah, it's amazing. There's just no accounting for taste, right?
Well, I don't know. I thought they were pretty good records, frankly.
Oh, they're incredible records. Well, you look at the writers that we had writing for us alone, like, that last one you played, Mike Nesmith wrote. But before that, I'm a Believer, Neil Diamond, and Carole King and Jerry Goffin, of course, and Boyce and Hart, who wrote some of the biggest hits, and Neil Sedaka. And
who wrote Last Train to Clarksville?
Boyce and Hart. Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart.
Oh, man.
So we had just such great production team and writers, and on the TV show, the directors and the writers and the producers. So
who produced those records?
Oh, a whole bunch of different people. Boyce and Hart, a lot of the early stuff, and we're responsible for creating the original Monkee sound. That's kind of what producers do, and then, all kinds of other people, us and Chip Douglas and Jeff Berry. And
you did them in L.A., right?
I live in L.A., yeah.
That might mean you did the records in L.A.
Oh, sorry, yes. RCA Victor.
So you used the Wrecking Crew, I guess?
Well, amongst others. The Wrecking Crew. Of course, they played on everybody's stuff, as you know. Did you ever see that documentary?
Yes, I have.
Oh, what a wonderful... it's about time those guys and girls got acknowledged for what they did on our stuff, on the Beach Boys stuff, on the Bird stuff. And I'm so glad. I was really rooting for Tedesco to get that off the ground, and he finally did.
I just had James Burton on the other day. So
yeah,
and
great.
The late Leon Russell was a friend of mine. And of course, the great Glenn Campbell. I guess you knew Glenn, right?
I certainly did. In fact, we became very good friends after he was recording on some of the stuff. And he told me one day after we kind of were hanging out together, he said, "Do you remember your first recording session?" And it was a recording session, my first, that was at least a year before the Monkee audition even. A couple of producers got me in the studio recording. He said, "I played on your first record." When I was like 19 years old or something like that. He was a wonderful man. Great talent.
What was your background again?
Well,
you were born in Hollywood, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, not Hollywood, in L.A., but my parents were both in the business, actors and singers. They met doing a play. My first TV series, I was like 10 years old. It was on NBC called Circus Boy. Before that, I'd actually done a couple of screen tests. And my earliest work is actually coming out on, it's my prenatal work coming out on ultrasound.
Talking about Micky Dolenz of the Monkees. When they held those auditions for the Monkees, and I guess 400 people auditioned. And it was for the TV show, right?
Yeah, it was a television show about this
band,
imaginary rock and roll band that wanted to be the Beatles. And yet they did cast 4 guys that could sing and play, so their intention must have been that we were actually going to go out on the road and do it eventually. The closest thing that's come along, I think, in a while is something like Glee, where it's this television show about an imaginary glee club, but they can all do it. They can actually sing and dance and act and play. believe they went out on the road and did concerts, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's what the Monkees was. It was about this band that wanted to be the Beatles.
So when you get selected for the TV show, and then you guys make some records. When you made those, was Last Train to Clarksville the first record you guys made as the Monkees?
I don't recall the first recording sessions that well. There was so many sessions and so fast because they needed so many songs for those episodes. I just remember shooting the television show 8-10 hours a day and then going into the studio at RCA Victor and recording sometimes 2 or 3 lead vocals a night. And I did most of the lead vocals, so I just remember it as a whirlwind of recording and filming.
Did you have any sense at the time when you're doing this that these had a potential to be hit records?
Not really. You don't know. You go out and you do your best and you work hard and you surround yourself with...
I understand that, but, did you get a sense? Last Train to Clarksville, I'm a believer. Somebody gets in the studio and you go in the control room, listen to that back. That sounds like a hit record. I don't care whether. I know it's hard to tell sometimes, but
yeah. Like I say, you never know, and especially I was like 20 years old. 21 years old, and I recorded so much and so fast. But I do remember leaving the studio humming the song, so I figured that was a good sign.
So you're going to be at B.B. King's tomorrow night, is it?
Tomorrow night, my friend.
And what do you do there?
I do my
sing, Don. Dumbass.
Yeah, I have I have the Blue Angels do a flyby, and juggle, and I do a solo show, and frankly, it's mostly monkey material because I
should be.
I love doing it, and the reaction is always so great. It's like my 3rd time at B.B. King's doing a solo show, and since I did sing the majority of the hits,
keep rubbing that in, Mickey.
No, it's just that
one guy's dead and the other guys are going to feel bad anyway. Come on, dude.
I'm just saying that's what you're going to get is a monkey show, essentially. Then I do non-monkey stuff.
Your sister's there with you too, Coco, right?
Yeah.
How's that girl doing?
She's a great singer, and she sang on backgrounds on some of the original monkey stuff. And I do some non-monkey stuff, but if I do, I usually tell a story about what why I'm doing. Like for instance, I do a song by the late great Chuck Berry called "Johnny Be Good," sure. But I explained to the audience that I'm going to do it because it was my audition piece for the Monkees. It was the song that got me the gig, so I sing that, and that brings them along, and then I'll do a bit of Purple Haze and tell the story of Jimi Hendrix opening for us, the Monkees. He was our first opening act, and I do a little bit of Purple Haze and tell that story, and then, some other stuff.
Tomorrow night at B.B. King's, Micky Dolenz.
Thank you so much.
I'd go see that. So
cool.
All right, baby. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure being here.
Micky Dolenz, Monkees, here on the Imus Morning program. One more one here, Pleasant Valley Sunday. This is a great record, too. Listen to the tracks on these. That's right now.
The rock broke down